Hello, ladies. Okay, right. Hang on, I've just got to get. Right, we are now live on Facebook, and there's comments coming up. Tracy is with us. Tracy Hand and the lovely Teresa Reynolds and Rebecca Whitney. Right, wait a minute. I've got to turn the sound down because I turned it up to listen to her voice message. I'm getting an echo. Hang on. Right. Right, good morning all. Good morning on Zoom. Now Hazel's disappeared. Right, count to 10, Rowlands. Right, okay. Right.
I was waiting for you on Facebook.
Yeah.
Silly things to
Yeah.
have
I should have realised that,
Mm.
as you said, you're not very good at tech.
No.
And anyway, we're live on Zoom. We're live on Facebook Live. And lots of people, a few people are joining us. Hello all on Facebook. Hello, the lovely Chantel. You're looking a bit dark.
No, I literally
Okay.
just out the shower to sort myself out.
Hazel, if you could unmute yourself, because we're going to start talking very, very shortly. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you all the lovely Hazel M. Cooling, who's been a student of mine for too long. I mean, for a few months now. All right, that was a joke. And what was I going to say? She reads tarot, and she's been reading tarot for a very long time, as well as being a student of mine for mediumship. So I invited her on here to talk about tarot. Hazel, please tell us where your tarot journey began and talk to us about it. Tell us about your journey.
Well, it began at the beginning, really. Started off as a child, sort of seeing spirit, as you would see someone sitting right opposite you, you know. So it kind of went from there. During primary school, I started to get a little bit, I discovered that not everyone was sort of living the life that I was. So I started to sort of dive into books that my mum had on tarot cards, palmistry, things like that, trying to understand what it was, you know, this thing where you get like what you call the knowing, when you just know things about people, know things that are going to happen, or so yeah, it started with my own curiosity. I gave palmistry a good go, but the books were really complicated back in the day. And then I found a book on it wasn't tarot, it was Lenormand cards, but they translated into playing cards. So I kind of memorized the book, and away I went with my deck of playing cards to primary school. I did get caught and told off once the teacher sussed out what I was doing. But then it just went from there. Up until I'd say, well, it was exactly 12 years ago, because I was reading the cards and I had a voice guiding me. I did have a bit of a hair-raising experience with a particular person that I was reading for, and the voice sort of disappeared. So I tried one more reading after that, and then I just thought, no, this isn't right, because all I had like around me, mediumistically, was complete silence. So I was like, no, I can't do this on my own. So I gave up for quite a few years. In the background, I went back to kind of studying the cards, because I thought, you know, if I'm not going to be told exactly where to go with each card, I'm going to have to learn it for myself. And I think that was Spirit's lesson to me, to make me just relearn from scratch. And gradually, the voices have started coming back in, and the feelings and the sensations and the knowing. So that was a good, hard lesson. I would have called it punishment at the time, but looking back in reflection now, it was the best thing that ever could have happened to me. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I just get the feeling that with that lady that you had an experience with, and you know, you couldn't get your link with that voice, and reading tarot became difficult. I just get the feeling that there must have been some kind of shock to your system. Would I be correct?
You would. It was a lady that was desperate for a baby, and she got very upset, and you know, quite aggressive. But yeah, it was awful. But then again, it was a lesson to me. You know, I'd been running around as a young teenager giving people card readings with no filter.
Dangerous.
Also, knowing like the gypsy meanings for the cards as well. That's something you shouldn't give. You know, and it just taught me a good hard lesson. Just to, you know, have a safe and secure environment to work in, know how to handle each person type. Because, you know, I was doing universal readings. At the time, I thought I was doing good, but I was just throwing information out in one style. But since then, I've learned that you have to bend with the person to their levels of understanding.
Yeah, you have to communicate to that level of understanding. It's
Yeah.
in any form of reading, whatever you're reading, but whether you're doing a mediumistic reading, you know, from a spirit guide or a loved one, or there's somebody else who wants to join us, or the cards, or whatever. Okay, you need to learn how to communicate to that level of understanding. And I think the best way to speak to that level of understanding is to have compassion for the person sitting there.
Yeah, I've
And
also
be guided, in your case, be guided by the cards as to what to say, but
I mean,
always use tact.
Exactly, but it starts a lot before that. Now, what I've learned is to obviously have my own protection up, but
Yeah.
as I'm sort of meeting the person and talking to the person, it's got to be a blend with the energies there, because you need to feel the person that you're about to read for, because otherwise you've got no idea in which way to start your reading and in which way to speak to them. That's something I never used to do.
How do you mean feel? Is that reading empathically?
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, because that's something that I was always told not to do.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah, I
when
mean,
we're reading empathically, we're reading out the person's etheric. I like to think about what it's called.
yeah.
We're
You know,
reading
like
out the
you
person's
say,
etheric. So
yeah, like you say, there's
basically,
psychic and mediumship, though. That's
pardon?
one of you. I'm gonna throw one of your own quotes back to you. There's psychic and mediumship.
Yeah, but when you're reading out the etheric, you're going into their deep emotional self.
Yeah, I mean,
And you know, we should
mm,
keep away from that.
yeah, I mean, I do say to people, you know, because obviously you ask permission, and some people, like first time reads, they look quite sort of taken back, and I'm like, it's okay. I'm not going to be able to tell what color underwear you're wearing. I'm just sort of, I'll be able to sort of move through the journey of the reading with you.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel very strongly that we shouldn't read out of the etheric, because that's what I was taught.
Yeah. Well, do
You
you know
know,
what?
in your case, read from the cards. The person's touched the
Yeah,
cards.
yeah,
They've got their vibration all over the cards, so you can read from
yeah.
there.
I might take that on board. I might give that a little trial run.
Yeah, because reading from the etheric is basically an invasion of privacy.
Yeah, that's what I said. I always ask permission to sort
Yeah.
of,
I mean, if they've come for a reading, they've given you permission.
yeah, that's
But
what.
it's there's giving a reading and there's invading somebody's privacy.
Yeah, I mean, what I find with the tarot is nothing about that person will come out unless that card's on the table, and it won't come out as in I know your secrets, your deepest, darkest secrets. I can just sort of feel I'm taken by the energy.
Yeah, I
So
mean, it's like it comes in tarot reading with because you're reading from the person's vibration as they touch the cards.
yeah,
Okay. And also that vibration is linking to the cards, isn't it? And the symbolism of the cards. I'm
definitely.
sorry to disagree with you, but as you know,
No, I love it. You know
I'm
me.
quite set in my ways on what I was taught.
Yeah.
But moving forward, rather than me ranting and raving about the etheric, what I would like to say is tell us about how you learn tarot, the reading of them, the deeper meanings of the tarot.
Right. So I've taught tarot. First things first, the worst thing you can do is dive into the deep meanings of the cards, i.e., read the book or have someone talk for an hour on the card about the symbolism, you know, the zodiac related signs, the positive and negative traits of the card. I've learned from experience of teaching that is a big no-no to start with. That's why I do a 6-week induction course. First things first is you've got to switch your analytical brain off. If I start throwing information at people, or if people start reading these books, they're working from the wrong side of their brain. That's not the intuitive part at all. So that's like that's the first big no-no, and that's where lots of people go wrong. So what I normally do is teach the because you've got 4 suits, so you've got a general meaning to each suit, like i.e. emotions, logic, you know, hobbies, money, say, and that's a very narrow, you know, it does broaden out to cover every aspect of our lives because it is the story of life, isn't it, from the beginning of time until the end of time, the tarot. But I get people working with that initially and working with the numerology, simple numerology.
Yeah,
Say,
Simon
for
last
example,
week does that. Yeah.
yeah, so for example, I mean, it sounds really simple, but it's very, very broad. So the most basic thing is 2s are choices or decisions, and a cup means emotions. So if you've got one of them on the table, you know that someone's looking at an emotional choice or decision. I mean, that is like nursery school sort of standard, but that's a good place to start from. And then, you know, you get people to sit with each card. Yeah, we know that it's an emotional decision that needs to be made. And then, you know, rather than just knowing what the symbology is on the card and whether it's masculine, feminine, active, passive, I get people to just sit with the card and see what pops out of the card to them and make their own interpretation to start. And to be fair, 9 times out of 10, there's not much difference between that and then once they've completed the advanced sort of course where like the symbology is just pages long, you know, you could talk on one card for 2 hours if you wanted to. There's not really a great deal much difference apart from when you're in a full reading spread with people. You just need to know the cards deeper because people have really complicated lives. But as a start point, just start reading, learn the numerology, learn what the suits mean, and give it a go. The other thing that trips
Can
up,
I just interrupt there because
yeah.
the question was, how did you learn? See, to me, before you could teach, you've got to learn.
Oh, I learned from books. General meanings. But that being said, I don't think I learned anything from the books. I did when I was about 7 years old because we just drink information and absorb it. I learned how to use the playing cards from what I'll show you an example. You know, we've got one here. It's Lenormand, and this is the Tree of Life, and it relates to the Seven of Hearts. So that's how I learned initially. After that, like I said, I was guided by spirit. I was told what to say when I actually picked up tarot, because nothing from the book sank in.
Yeah, because I don't think a lot of people realise this, that you can link to spirit with the cards.
Well, you do, don't you? Every
Yeah, you
time.
do.
It's not random.
Because as I've just said a little while ago, yeah, the person's got their vibration all over the cards.
Yeah.
That vibration is their emotional self, their mental self, or the whole makeup of their spiritual self, their physical self. Because we are spirit and physical and material all at once, aren't we? So all that vibration comes across on the cards. And I think that what's its face? Linking with spirit can be very helpful. So you haven't actually gone to a teacher and sat down like in a group and they've taken you through a course.
No, I haven't.
Okay. All right.
Out of interest, I did last year pop on, no, beginning of this year, I did sign up to a taster course, because I was just like, I need to see how other people teach this to try and make me teach it better. And
yeah, that's one thing that I've had to learn, is I've had to learn how to teach.
yeah, I mean, I can say I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but the lessons I've learned came from making my own mistakes teaching rather than watching someone else. So
That's right. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I think you learn more when you fall flat on your face.
As far as symbolism goes, though, I did when I sort of dived back into the cards, because I didn't have access to, you know, the internet at that time. I learned a lot from dream dictionaries, symbolism of different things and situations. And sure enough, I mean, you know, symbols can be quite universal. It's like an eagle, you know, you've got a higher perspective. You know.
Yeah, I love an eagle when it comes into my
Yeah.
mediumship. Is that just let me read a couple of things out. Caroline Kaz asked, are the tarot cards at all? I would say yes. What would you say?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, sorry, I've got my kids.
I think everything is a reflection of source. When somebody handles the cards, they've not only got their vibration all over it. When they shuffle them, when they hand them back to the reader, it's a reflection of themselves, isn't it? Even though the cards are being shuffled, everything is reflective.
I mean, what does help also is I did a good few years studying psychology and archetypes. You know, because you've got to know people, and you've got to be aware also that you've got things on a soul level that are running in the background, because we have our proposed sort of plan for life, and then we have our free will. So, I mean, it just comes naturally after a while, but it's just taking all things into consideration.
Oh, I think so, yeah. Stacey Sparkles, I call her Sparkles, right, because she is sparkly. She says, I believe you need the basic knowledge of each card and then build on the knowledge with your own intuition and help with your guides. You know what? I'll agree with that. And I'll agree with that in mediumship, because as I've told you and the other girls, that I'm still working from what I learned in circles sort of like 40 odd years ago. But as you go along, you know, using that basic knowledge, as Sparkles says, you know, you get with your guides, you grow, don't you?
That's where I was going with the suits and the numerology.
Yeah, go on, sorry.
I mean, it gets more complex when you get to court cards, you know, your pages, knights, queens and kings. But the way I teach people with them is we do have to learn them. They're the ones we do have to learn. But I get people to link the personality type to someone in their life or someone on the telly or something. You know, like for example, a Knight of Wands is fancies himself as a bit of a superhero. You know, they're always darting around the place.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Yeah.
You know, so I just, it's so much fun once you really get into the cards. But I just think the big mistake everyone's making nowadays, because there's such a teaching thing going on, isn't it? You go online, everything's
Yeah,
about
there's a
coaching.
course for everything. There's a workshop for everything these days.
But a lot of these people are sitting there and planning their lessons from reading it from a book or watching a video on it last week or something. There's a lot of people that aren't. There's a lot of people that really have something to offer. But I believe that it should be intuition first. I just think as soon as we start filling ourselves with information, we're cutting off our intuition. And then what's the point? So I go intuition first with basic knowledge of the suits and numerology, and then fill the gap with the knowledge, and then it's fun and you can feel the knowledge as well as hear it and write it down, you know.
Yeah, Stacey disagrees. Sparkles disagrees about that card. Was it Knight of Wands? She says he's a hard worker and too serious. He has a plan and wants to achieve it. But on the other side, you could say that he also wants to be a superhero. I don't know. The first time I come across tarot was Roald Dahl's Tales of the Unexpected that used to be on the telly years and years ago. And the second time I experienced tarot cards was in Circle. But Julie, Todd Connell makes a very good point here. I'll read her comment. I was taught by Rosemary Prince. She was amazing. It's a feeling in your blood. It's in your DNA to follow the path. That's there. We learned the who thing with no book. Do you know what? That's what draws some people into mediumship, draws somebody into healing, or whichever form of reading we do, or whichever form of healing we do. It's in your blood. That's why some people stick with the tools, you know, such as tarot.
Going back to Stacey's point, I mean, you know, that aspect's only one aspect of that character within the tarot, because, you know, he's sparked from passion and, you know, he gets an idea, he runs with it, you know. But we're talking about the suit of fire, so that's high energy work and high energy play. Do you see what I mean? So in that sense,
say with that card, it's free will, isn't it? Getting an idea and running with it, whether you're right or wrong.
Sometimes I say to people, only fools rush in with that card, but that's just you know, by saying that, having a difference of opinion, it's just opened this whole thing up. You know, we're not sort of programmed with like 1 to 5 personality types. You know, one is this, one is that, because it's a blend of a lot of different aspects, isn't it? Because otherwise
I think, not to sort of sound too hairy-fairy, because it's become popular to say multi-dimensional these days, or multifaceted, isn't it? As spirit, you know, physical, in a material, we are multifaceted, multi-dimensional. Anyway, and I think the cards should reflect that.
Definitely. And
you
also,
know, I think from the reading that you gave me, that come across. You know what I mean? When you first started out, and like you say, it's the same with mediumship. It's the same with me. A lot of people were saying I was too young.
Yeah.
I started demonstrating when I was 23, nearly 23. And do you think a little bit more life experience would have stood you in good stead for your future journey?
Yes, I learnt the hard way every step of the way. I was too young, but I was also too young to know that I was too young to be doing it.
Yeah, that's
So
right. So we think we know everything when we're young. I certainly did.
yeah,
But
yeah.
what was I going to say? There's thought that just come into my mind, Hazel. I remember Tony Townley from a spiritualist church who was having a psychic supper, and this woman was complaining bitterly, saying that I was too young to supervise them and give them readings.
Yeah,
And what his reply to her was, yes, he's young physically, but what is the age and the wisdom of his spirit?
that's profound.
Yeah. And I think, would you agree your path so early in tarot was sort of like guided or chosen?
Well, I was also told by Spirit to get a copy of a dictionary and put it by my bedside and learn a word a day, because I was being told things that I couldn't, what's the word, that I couldn't understand what I was being told. So right up until I think my mid-20s, every sort of bedsit and house flat I moved to, this old Oxford dictionary came with me, and I carried it on. Yeah, I mean, looking back, it's ridiculous. I was sort of in a world that, most 20-year-olds wouldn't even be thinking of getting into. But like I said, I had no guidance, and I just really didn't know any better. So, but I will say something though. Once you start working with tarot, because I know Stacey's taught it as well. I think she said she taught it
Yeah,
once.
30 odd years, I think. Yeah.
Once you start learning tarot, you learn that the world is your teacher. You can learn about tarot in books, in people, in situations, in the environment around you. So it's like once that journey begins, you never stop, and you never stop learning. And it makes you more conscious of everything around you and how you're behaving in your everyday life, because if you sort of react to something rather than respond, I'll say to myself, oopsie, I'm acting like that card. What do I need to do to fix it?
You made a good point then, because it's like anything, the world is our teacher.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Spirit keep telling us all the time that we're here to learn,
yeah,
and that every experience we have, whether it's positive or negative, is teaching us,
mm,
and the world is a great learning ground, and the tarot reflect that,
exactly.
because getting to the deeper meanings of the cards, this is what I liked about them. As you know, I'm a total heathen when it comes to tarot. I just get the vibration of the card, and I'm drawn to what symbol, and I interpret the symbol, bam. But I
Yeah,
don't know, like you and Stacey, I don't know the ones mean this and the ones mean that, and the cups mean this, and the coins mean that, and all the rest of it. My way of reading the tarot is totally intuitive from the vibration which comes from the cards. Okay, but I've also linked loved ones in spirit through the cards, and it's very possible. Oh, and I agree that the tarot cards are very much a tool. They're just another way of giving a message.
yeah. I think when you use them, rather than them being a tool, because a tool is something you need in order to do a job, like you need a screwdriver to unscrew a screw. I don't really, I know that that's the universal word, but I don't see it as a tool, because it's just like a second language, because you could get these messages across without the cards if you're that tuned in. For example, I've done demonstrations where I lay the cards face down and read from touching the card, and then afterwards I'll turn the cards over, and people are like, oh my God, how did you get that message to come through? I done a reading for someone the other day, and I just thought, I don't fancy using my tarot. And I did a really in-depth reading for this lady, and then I dropped my computer screen, my laptop screen, and said it was a couple of people that have learned from me in the past. We'd just meet up every now and then and just read for each other. And I lowered my camera, and I was like, that was all done with playing cards. But the fact of the matter is, when you get so used to using them, when they become part of your everyday life anyway, like in your thought patterns and things like that, you don't actually even need the cards.
Yeah,
See what I mean?
Stacey, she makes the point that if you only work intuitively, you might miss so much information for the
Oh
self.
God, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
agree. I
That's
agree.
why
But
that's just the beginning part of it.
as I've told Hazel, I covered, or we covered tarot for 5 minutes in circle, just purely for symbolism.
Mm,
Because with mental mediumship, we work very much with symbols and emotions.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So, you know, it's a good tool for, for a
mm,
tarot is actually a good tool for attunement with mental mediumship, for
yeah,
understanding symbology and vibration, or the other
yeah,
word for vibration is emotion.
yeah.
You
Because
know,
symbolism runs so deep. Like I say, I once, I think it was the Nine of Wands, by mistake, I just got started and got so into giving this lesson that I once spoke for 2 hours solid on one card. That's how deep you can go.
that's right. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
sometimes, platform or privately that
mm.
you just can't shut up because the information is coming and coming and
That's
coming.
where I get my nickname, isn't it?
But talking about tools, I would say Spirit used me as a tool. I've been called a tool many times in
Yeah,
different circumstances. But what I was, I feel in a joking mood today, Hazel, sorry. But you could say Spirit are using me as a tool, as a medium to get their information
yeah,
across, and Spirit are using you and the cards as tools.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but, you know, people come to you. I mean, I've had people come to me and say, I'd like a tarot card reading rather than a mediumship
mm.
reading. And yes, I do read the tarot for them. I think you can go just as deep
Yeah,
as
definitely.
any tarot card reader. All
Mm.
right. Because I think they're looking for a deeper meaning.
These days, people are. It's all changed over the last 15 years.
Well, I agree. I agree 100%. I think people are looking for a lot more. Rather than
Yeah.
just us coming out there with our twirly bow ties on, giving evidence that they
Mm.
already know, people are
Yeah.
looking for a deeper meaning for their pathway, for their
Yeah.
purpose. Why are they experiencing the things that they're experiencing? How can they change the things that they're
Mm.
experiencing, and so on and so on and so on and so on.
Definitely. Years ago, obviously with me being young and getting a lot of people asking for readings from my children's schools and that, I'd say like probably 80% of my readings were relationship ones, and 50% of those were questions like, is my boyfriend going to leave me? And but then saying that, we've all sat there and been in that position. It's the first thing on your mind in the morning, last thing at night, unsure about your relationship. But what I found was I was getting the same people come back to me the next year in a new relationship with someone else. Is my boyfriend going to leave me? Same question. So I kind of thought that there's got to be something more to this. So I I then started thinking to myself, well, if this thing keeps repeating because we're creatures of habit, we've got a subconscious program running as well as a conscious program. If your boyfriends keep leaving you, maybe at a subconscious level, you might be getting to a certain point in a relationship and pushing them away. And I started reading for people, if it was like a repeat occurrence, we'd go for like the deep work, like understanding your own behavioral patterns of the past and the present, and seeing where you're going wrong, where you're repeating the patterns. And I tell you what, I rarely get now someone keep coming back with the same answers, with the same questions, with the same person, or with different people, because I'm like, if this keeps repeating, how about let's tackle it from the source? Let's look at you. Let's make you conscious of your unconscious patterns and programs that are running, and keep heading you towards the same disastrous situations, and that really, really, really works.
You know what? I get asked them questions. Is my boyfriend going to leave me? Usually
Yeah.
about 11:30 at night when I'm about to go to bed or something like
Yeah.
that. And I say, darling, lovey, I'm a medium. I can't possibly give you a psychic reading, but they need help. All right.
Yeah.
And then I'll make an appointment with them.
Mm.
You know what I mean? But, you know, it's about not telling them when their boyfriend's going to leave them, if their boyfriend's going to leave them or not. It's about talking to them about why they're so blooming insecure.
Exactly. Or from another angle, do you want your boyfriend to leave you? And they'd be like, no, of course I don't.
Will it justify how you feel about yourself? There are lots of aspects to that. I agree. You know what I mean? But this is where tarot readers can help a lot, and I think mediums can help a lot.
Definitely.
I think,
definitely.
you know, I've done a thing with the lovely Daniela the other week about, it's all about putting mediumship through the heart and about giving people the advice from spirit, the universe, whatever, the world, to help people in their lives. And I'm very much for that, even though even that was the kind of mediumship I was taught donkeys years ago. But Sparkles is making another good point. And I think, you know, this is where tarot card readers are leading the way in certain aspects, because they are talking to people about how they feel of things, about how they're using their free will and stuff like that. And that's what people want to know about, how life's affecting them, how they're affecting life, and all the rest of it. I once had a girlfriend that kept saying to me, you're going to run up with somebody, you're going to run, and she was dead possessive and all the rest of it. Okay. And in the end, I got rid of her because she was too possessive.
Exactly.
You know, so they're creating that situation. You know what I mean?
You guarantee that she'd do that on the next relationship.
If a medium or a tarot card reader or an angel card reader or a sand reader or a water reader, there's many different types of reading.
Yeah.
Zillions of you can read anything, you know, if you want to. But let's get to Sparkle's point. I'll read it. We are all tools for spirit to pass on information. It's wonderful. It's nice to speak to the dead. I don't agree with the dead. I think we're more alive than we are, right? But people want information of what is happening in their lives because we live in a physical world, and I 100% agree with that.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
So, and I think spiritualism as a whole, and the whole umbrella of spiritualism, has got to change in that way.
Definitely. I mean, I get a lot these days. I get a lot of people wanting to know about their spiritual paths. But one thing that's become really popular is people with their careers. And I read for one lady, and I will admit, I've had to say to her, go home for another month and come back. You know, let's leave it a bit longer. But she's like a sort of high flyer working for Harrods, high up. But, you know, she had so much on her plate that she couldn't think straight. So the first time I read for her, it was just sort of deciphering everything that she was up against. She didn't just have two choices. She had about 5 or 6. But, you know, the way she uses tarot is she checks in to see, you know, where she is. Obviously, people know where they are because they've got their own brains, their own thoughts and feelings, but it's just a great tool to use because it's like, you know, you can do decision making based on it. I mean, I wouldn't say base something as serious as a relationship on a tarot reading, but say you're in business and you don't know what to do for your company for the best, and you've got 2 choices. Once you've sort of rinsed your mind dry and you just can't think anymore with your own sort of resources that you've got, then tarot is a fantastic tool because you can go through, you know, if I choose say A or B, we'll look at their probabilities and outcomes according to what path you're on at the moment or what direction you take. So it can just give people clarity.
Yeah, I mean, I was taught that spirit only give advice, all right? And to this day, I'm still telling people, you know, your guides, your loved ones will only give this as a whatever
Yeah.
they've said as advice. And I think it's the same with tarot. They can be used as a guide. It's purely
Yeah.
advice. It
Yeah, it's
depends
not
on the person, what they do with
yeah.
it. You
We're
know,
not asking you to believe in tarot, and trust in tarot. We're asking you to trust in spirit. Do you know what I mean? Because
and
that's where
yourself.
the message is coming from.
Yeah. Because, tarot, like anything else, it is sort of like a universal reflection. But I do think rather than coming along with our twirly bow ties, I'm talking about platform mediums now.
Yeah.
All right. And I've gotten the right to my opinion because I've been doing that for a very long time.
Yes.
All right. But rather than coming out of our twirly bow ties, bringing evidence and just evidence,
Yeah.
no, we're not. We're sort of like bringing only a sort of like that much of what spirit
Yeah.
can really truly give. Surely we've got to think about the well-being of people.
Definitely.
And
Yeah.
how they're conducting their lives, and
That's
what
actually
spirit wished to do to give them to guide them.
yeah. I mean, that's the first thing I'll tell people as soon as they buy a deck of tarot cards. You've got to have all your emergency numbers written down. You know, like suicide prevention, things like that, because the person you're reading for, that could be their last resort, searching for a way out.
Yeah, I
before
can.
they
I've,
end up
I've
with something silly.
experienced that, and I've quickly had to Google
Yeah, no, I've got them all written
AA
down.
and suicide prevention and mental health.
Yeah.
I mean, as a support worker, I used to work with mental health and AA and people like an Avalon and people like that.
Yeah.
So I've got their numbers in my phone anyway. But yeah, I think we should look at providing a service as a whole for the well-being of the person, because you know what, me and many others have been saying this for years. It's about bringing that help. It's about bringing that love, and it's about bringing that upliftment. And I know it can be done through the cards, because I think it's like with mediumship. People have their ideas about mediumship. People have their ideas about tarot, and usually they're wrong because they're sitting there at home watching the telly, or their mate went to a spiritualist church last night, or their mate had a tarot reading. But look into it, investigate, have an open mind.
See, this is where I'd like to see tarot allowed into SNU churches, spiritualist churches, because I believe if you put tarot and mediumship side by side, you're getting the healing and the upliftment and the reassurance and comfort from your loved ones in spirit with direct messages, and you're getting clarity, direction, that holistic guidance. You can do shadow work with tarot. You've got the whole package.
Very
And
much
yet
so.
tarot readers aren't allowed in the churches.
Some churches. I had this debate with the lovely Tim Abbott last week, because he was saying that they are allowed in the churches that he goes to. And I was saying it depends on which church you go to.
I'm allowed to read angel cards in my church.
I mean, I
but
know
not-
there's that edict that come out from the SNU that Jason Dean Rothwell posted. But you go to different churches, and one day they'll have a little psychic fair with a couple of tarot readers in there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or back in 1979, I was doing my 5 minutes with tarot. The medium who trained me invented the psi cards in Berenice Watts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But what was I going to say? I was going to say something then, but I think it depends on the church you go, the SNU church you go to, as to what they'll allow and what they won't allow.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a blanket thing. I may have told you, I may not have told you, but the first time in 40 years of demonstration, I got told off for bringing a guide through the church. And that's once in 40 years. And I'm always bringing guys through, and the majority of places I serve are SNU. So I really think it depends on the church and the committee. I don't think it's a blanket thing at all.
No.
But it's about opening people's minds, isn't it, Hazel?
Definitely. And also it's opening the minds to themselves. I think as soon as people stop fussing on all the noise around them and go within, everything comes a little bit clearer. It's like you can get a deep healing from tarot. Like for example, I spoke to you last week, didn't I? And it was a big shock. I must have been early 20s. I had a lady recommended for a friend of a friend of a friend. She came in terminally ill with cancer for a reading, and it threw me. And I thought, how am I going to deal with this? Because I was more into predictive reading then, rather than sort of, you know, the whole package. And I thought quickly on my feet, and we did like a life review, and it went through the ages in the decades, from like very early years, and it was the most amazing thing ever. It was a case of like laughing 1 minute, crying, but not sad tears. It was, and also things came up that she didn't even remember, along with the feelings that went with them. And I've got to admit, it's quite a silly thing. But when I read for people face to face, I have a packet of tissues on their side of the table and a packet of tissues on my side, because someone's just got to start crying and it sets me off. But then we laugh about it afterwards, and as a result, it increases the vibration of energy in the room. So,
Yeah.
you know, but for that lady, she left happy, like the most happy I've ever felt from someone, let alone seen. You know, but that's the thing, you know. Also, my nan always says to me, can I have a tarot reading, please? She's past 90 years old. She can't see. She doesn't go out of her house. She goes out once a week to the local shop with my mum. And a lot of people would say, well, how are you going to give someone like that a tarot reading? Because they haven't got a life. They've just got an existence.
Really?
But I'm like, most 20-year-olds just have an existence. They don't have a life yet because they're not living their life, because they can't move out of their patterns or they're too scared. So most people are just existing. And my nan loves her.
A lot of people, from experience, a lot of people are a lot younger than your nan are just living.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Existing.
What was I going to say? I think with anything, like you said, you used to read tarot a certain way. And as with mediumship, you should never think, right, I'm going to link with spirit this way, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. You've just got to go with the flow with spirit, because all of a sudden you might be working totally different to what you're used to.
Yeah.
Because that's what's needed. Spirit know what's needed better than we do.
Definitely.
Now, I think you've got to do that with the cards as well. Right, Sparkles is back with us again, and I've got to invite you on again, Sparkles. Anyway, what Sparkles is saying, you attract sitters who you specifically can help because you have been in similar situations. That's her belief. Would you agree with that, Hazel? I agree with it.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, the tarot is the story of life from the beginning of time to the end of time. Tarot's not changed much over the years because our human patterns don't change.
What is time?
Exactly.
There's no such thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's new meanings coming in, like for internet and things like that, whereas before it would have been letter writing, and some of the newer decks have bent with that. But apart from that, you know, apart from what's around us, our archetypes, the types of personality roles that we play within our lives haven't changed since the beginning of time. Obviously you drop an archetype every now and then, you know, like the like someone that lives in survival mode because they could be attacked by like a saber-toothed tiger or something, but I think that reflects in everyday modern anxiety, which has come in as the times have changed. Now we've got a lot of people that are very anxious, so it's like we're sort of dropping in and out patterns, but the essence of it is the same from the beginning of time. And I believe it will always be that way. You know, we'll just sort of bend with the types that we sort of, you know, like, because, I mean, what I mean by archetypes is you get your typical mother hen, don't you, in a group? Or you get the teacher type, the person that's always... Or you
could say archetypally,
yeah, exactly.
Group, like our little circle, or
Yeah.
or this live now.
Mm.
We're all playing our archetypal roles.
Yeah.
At
And
work and at home or wherever,
yeah.
or out with our mates having a few jugs of wine or
So
whatever.
for me, that's the essence of the person, and the symbology is the essence of everything else. So they go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other, because otherwise you won't be reading tarot properly. But you know, you've got to have your intuition in place, though. I mean, you can read tarot, you can get away with it, just from the cards.
Yeah, you could just, if you swallowed a tarot book, you could just give the blanket meanings
Yeah.
of it.
Mm,
Okay, all
yeah.
right. I'm just going to try this person out. This person's coming in. All right. Okay, you can read tarot, but it's no good me saying, right, if I went for a tarot reading and I just get somebody that swallowed the book and they come, right, you got the Eight of Wands, and that means I've actually had somebody do that with me.
Yeah. Well, it'd be cheaper to go buy a packet of cheap tarot cards off of Wish and buy a book and do it yourself. In
Yeah.
that case.
I once did a psychic fair in Cheshunt because they were short a tarot reader. And I said, I'm not a tarot reader. And I explained the 5 minutes and everything like that. And they said, we're desperate. So I went along. All the other tarot readers had sort of like the big notices of who they were and, you know, they're a star child and all the rest of it. And I just sat there with my money box and my clock.
Yeah.
All right. And I got a lot of people coming to me because they're just going bump, 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 bump. You know what I mean? But the others, whereas the others weren't getting so much custom, they were just doing it from a book.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got to do it from the heart. When you say intuitively, it's got to be through the heart, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
intuition.
You've
I
just
agree with that.
when you just said clock, it's I'm gonna sort of reiterate the point that you're always learning. I'm a huge fan of long, in-depth tarot readings, and that's the way I've always worked, because before the internet it was people in my house, and you make them a cup of tea and you'd sit down there and you'd be like, right, let's get to this, and it could last as long as it lasted. I've just started doing a couple of lives and I'm really struggling at keeping my readings short, because I'm having to unpick years of conditioning that I've done to myself. And I'm struggling with that. I'm going to have to practice and practice.
Yeah, you're going to have
to
to customize
do that with my readings. But
Hazel, it's the
yeah,
same. You know, you can be on a church platform, you can be on a Zoom. There's some people where spirit want to work with more. You know
definitely.
what I mean? They
But
need
also,
more for whatever reason.
yeah,
And you got to go with it. And you're trying to fit it all in before the chairperson or somebody on Zoom says, that's your last one. Or can you
yeah,
shut up, please? It's time to go because I've got the
no,
kettle or whatever like that. So,
yeah. But
what
some
was it?
people just need something short and sharp just so that they can run with it, whereas other people will need a couple of like good hour and a half readings. Do you see what I
Yeah,
mean?
I
It's
mean,
different.
we have to learn how to work in any environment. And I believe that a channel, well, I know, because I got told off for this for saying I think last night. I know that whatever we do, we should be able to work in any circumstances.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not
Definitely.
just when we're on a Zoom or a Facebook Live or we're in a beautiful spiritualist church somewhere. You know, it's sort of like when we go around to see a friend for a cup of tea and they're in a mess.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to say, I've got the Native American guide here, blah, 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 or bam, the Six of Wands is just right for
Yeah.
you, but just with your love and your compassion.
That's
You know
what
what I
I'm
mean?
struggling with. In my heart, I've only done a couple. Like I say, I'm a reader that reads, full spreads normally, because that's what I end up doing. But on a live, when you're reading for someone and you can tell that they're still not quite right because you can feel it from them, and you have to say, I hope that resonated with you and move on to the next one. That's heart-wrenching.
Right. Sparkles has made a
Mm.
nice comment here, which I 100% agree with. All right. and it was something that I was taught. I read her comment. Use 100 words, not 2,000 for the same information.
Yeah.
All right. What I was taught, you could say in 2 minutes what others take half an hour to say.
I did that last night. We had literally minutes left, and I spoke to Tracy, who's watching on the phone, and I said to her, "Do you know what? I did the same job in 2 minutes that I did in 15 minutes before."
There you go. You're learning.
But you know, learning is fun, isn't it? You know, you've got to take the clothes of a thick skin. But you know, when I asked Tracy for some constructive criticism this morning, she sort of gave it to me, and she was like, "That was just way too long per person." And she was like, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." And I'm like, "No, bring it on. This is my learning journey. This is what I need." The tarot can be that brutally honest with you as well. If you're doing your shadow work, it's whether or not you're in at the right point to take it and learn from it.
You know, it depends on the level of perception of the person receiving, doesn't it?
Generally,
so
I
that
think,
comes down again to the way you
yeah.
tell them, so that you can communicate with them in a way that they'll understand, in a way that they'll accept. Because people like to be told how lovely they are, don't they? And the world's being bad to them, they're not being bad to the world.
But in this day and age now, last 5 years, people are approaching me saying, "I want a spread to improve myself." You know, people are actually asking for the truth now, whereas before it was about sugarcoating everything and making people seem,
I agree with that. You know, but you know, again, it's the way you tell them. People want the truth, and it's the way you put it across.
Definitely.
That has to be learned at times. Sometimes people will just say, "Look, give it to me straight between the eyes," and I have. But I've even sort of like edited what the communicator's saying, but you know, to clean it up. You know, but you see, the way I look at you, Hazel, is very much the way I was 40 odd years ago, learning. You know, and this is a very important time for you. You know, I'm still learning, but very much like this is a modern world. You're learning how to work online. You know, I don't do fluffy readings either, Sparkles. No, I don't do that either. I don't blow smoke up there, but yeah, right. I was going to say arse, but anyway, but it's the way you tell them.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be polite. You got to consider their feelings.
Yeah.
And sometimes you've got to hit them straight between the eyes. It depends on what the situation is at the time. You can't give a blanket, "We'll do this, do that." No. It depends on the reader, whether it's tarot or mediumistic reading.
Yeah. But like I say, a lot of people are saying, "Just hit me with it now." Whereas before,
that's right, because they're desperate for something, aren't they?
People would say, "I want the truth," but you could tell in their body language that they didn't really want the truth. They wanted a truth that they could swallow. That's where a lot of people, you know, when people are just coming round to, you know, tarot readers and that, because it kind of was popular years ago, and then there was a stigma, and then we're just coming out of that stigma wave again. But a lot of people reading the cards terribly on TikTok from a book we're in danger of going back downhill into that thing where people are laughing at card readers. I mean, it doesn't bother me either way. But
but that's right across. But that's right across the board, because you know, you get these people that haven't even done a workshop but put themselves out of medium because it's seen as a way of earning a living now. It's an industry now.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, well, I can make a few quick bucks, and it's all wrong. There's people like myself and yourself and many, many others that have been doing it for years.
Yeah.
You know, that have honed our attunement.
It comes to personal responsibility, though, because
it comes down, but
if no one's responsible for their own,
but they're not thinking of personal responsibility.
No,
they're thinking about the pound,
Yeah.
shillings and pence.
But they bring the whole concept of spiritualism and you know, mediumship and card reading down with them. And
That's right. But I'm
that's
also
where we need
saying,
good learning.
those of us that are genuine and those of us that do take it all seriously and want to be of service to the world, have got to keep going. There's many that are falling away. Oh, I can't stand because this is happening, that's happening. No, keep going.
Yeah.
Because the cream will always rise to the top.
And I believe the right people find you anyway. The people that
That's
you need
right.
to
As Sparkles was saying
turn up.
just now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been demonstrating, or you know, and somebody said I weren't going to come to church tonight, but I just felt I should. Thanks for the reading. Thank you very much. That's helped. You know what I mean? So people get drawn to you.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, they didn't even know the medium was, but they get drawn to come. Spirit said, "Oh, you know, we want to say something through the medium. Get yourself down there."
Yeah.
You know, but anyway, what's Sparkle's saying? Yeah, she's making a good point here. What people think is none of our business, and that goes right across the board. What they think about us as intuitive messengers, all right, or what they think of us as if we do a good job or
that's
not.
what I said. From my perspective, I couldn't care less, but they're bringing the whole movement down.
Yeah, but I would say to you, Hazel, just focus on what you're doing. Just do the best you can.
Yeah.
And I'll say that to anybody that's just doing the best they can. Focus on what they're doing, because the cream will rise to the top. People can make their own minds up.
I mean, it's difficult when you're passionate about something, because you know
it can be.
You can get, it's like you know, with more people just reaching for easy cards to read with a lot of very simple oracle I love my oracle cards, by the way. I'm not slating them. But with more people just reading those, it's almost, to me, feels like is the art of tarot gonna die, because it is an art. I know it
or the art
won't.
of mediumship, even, or the art of trance healing. You know, it's or the art of sound reading.
Yeah.
You know, everything is vibrational. You can read anything.
But a lot of people would just go to something what's easy for them at the time.
Yeah, they'll do the quickest right and charge top dollar or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's wrong. But this is a learning curve. I think COVID happened for a reason. There's been a lot of good things about, you know, it's brought British spiritualism or spiritualism in general right across the world. It's allowed people who are questioning more access, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and people that are on their little search or whatever or need advice. I like that. Don't rubberneck in life. Just work on you and your path. That's what you got to do.
Well, practice what you preach.
I used to be a rubbernecker. I've stopped it now. You know. I realised it was a mugs game, you know. But what was I going to say? So that's the positive side of it. It's given more access to people that want to know and need a little bit of help and advice or whatever. On the other hand, a lot of people are jumping on board, not caring about what they do or how they say it, just as long as they're earning money.
Exactly. And there'll be the people that are £75 an hour or something ridiculous, you know, just
it's like a woman said to me, I've spent all my money on top mediums that are charging her 7,500, 120. I'm skint now. Can you give me a reading?
Yeah.
I was slightly insulted by that, but never mind. But you know, I said, well, I charge 40. There you go.
Yeah.
But when you've got the money, let me know. But right, it's poetry time. Hazel is the one that is always nagging me to read my poems. So we're going to read all. It's been lovely talking to you, by the way.
Yeah, I've loved it.
And I like putting people on the spot, as I've put you on the spot a couple of times, but well done, good answers.
Yeah, there was no plan, was there, for today? I was thinking to myself, God, what is he going to ask me? But then I was like, no, I can handle it.
Well, I didn't know. I did a trance last night, a trance demonstration. And my head's full of cotton wool at the moment. So I was thinking all the questions that I was going to ask them, I've forgotten. But I do what I normally do when I'm working with spirit, even though I'm just chatting now, is I just go with it.
Yeah.
And that's what you should do. Patrick, do you want to come on with me next Saturday? And I'll have Sparkles on the following week. Next Saturday morning at 11 o'clock, Patrick, if you would like to come on with me and talk about trance healing. All right. Yeah, I'll do 3 readings as well. But somebody who says, I've blown all my dough on top mediums online, will you give me a reading? Nah. You know what I mean? Because, you know, why do people want readings every 5 minutes?
Because they're not getting the level of reading that they actually need.
Well, there's that. But why do people need? People are becoming very needy.
Because they
Every
do
5 minutes, people have got to realise that we have our own free will. We create our lives.
And we've got a life in between that to live.
Yeah, and when we genuinely need a little bit of guidance, fair enough. I don't know which way to go. Fair enough, have a reading. But right, okay, I'll let you know, Stacey Sparkles. Patrick, do you want to come on with me next Saturday morning at 11 o'clock? But what I'm gonna read one of my readings. I've got carried away. Right, it's poetry time, folks. Got to find a poem. Let's get one of my new ones. I'm going to read a poem that I'm not particularly fond of, but I was just drawn to read it. Okay. And it's sort of like a poem I wrote about myself, you know, about what I am, who I am as spirit in a physical and a material world, and about my own darkness, my own light. And it's called Equilibrium, all right, which means balance. I am eternal, conscious light and colour, bound to this world of matter, reborn over and over again, till the one soul becomes its highest self. A journey of trial and error to become perfection. Through the circles of life and existence, all roads lead to oneness. Wisdom sleeps, dreaming of reason to reveal its truth. Purity is the dilemma of the open heart. Aware I am a blend of light and dark. I am all emotions in one consciousness. Free will gives me freedom to seek balance, accepting my darkness in restful silence to heal. My dark emotions with one question: why is darkness controlling me? Asking love to guide me to the answer, the truth I seek, so my journey can continue without hurt or disturbance, in balance, peace and light. Thank you all for listening. What do you think of that one, Hazel?
That was bloody brilliant. Sorry, I've just sworn.
Yeah, and I think
morning without doing that.
I think tarot cards are great for that. That poem I've just read,
Yeah.
you know, about your reason for being, where you're going. You know, it's like when you read for me, there was like the old behaviours.
Yeah.
You know, and things like that, because we do repeat old behaviours and, you know, and we keep going around in the same karmic circle. So, folks, what I would suggest, if you're drawn to go to a tarot reading, and I think tarot readers have a lot more to offer than what you will see on the TV, because it's sort of like seen as TV portray it as sort of like something as dark or something like that, you know, or
I think,
magical, you know.
You hit the nail on the head, Stephen, when you said to me about the reading I've done for you, because there's a surface level and there's a deeper level. And you said you were reading for me, but you were going very deep into the emotions of everything as well. So yeah, tarot reading it's not like a circus trick. It's a really can be so deep and profound.
It can be taken just as seriously as any form of mediumship, I think.
Yeah,
because it is a form of mediumship.
exactly.
You know, trouble is people these days, this is just my opinion, folks, but all people are being offered these days is the twirly tie brigade like myself. They come along on the platform or on Zoom, connect people with their loved ones, but we should be working through the heart, give the loved ones, the spirit guides, the angels, the fairies, whomever,
Yeah,
I want to give whoever want to communicate, to give that advice.
yeah,
Because sure, any reading, no matter how we read, it's got to be for the greater good of the person receiving it.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly. Yeah. Just before you go, do you mind if I drop the name of my page in your comments, just
You
in case
can. And
anyone
what I'm
wants to
also
follow?
going to do, there's one final question, young lady.
Mm-hmm.
Going forward, what have you got on in your life, such as courses? What can you offer people?
Oh, I've got a introduction course to the tarot, but I've designed it in a way that even tarot card readers would benefit from the course. Things that I've picked up, but the first one is I mean, I've taught information first and intuition second. You know, even if we do it card by card, that didn't work for the people that I taught. So I'm going intuition, numerology, and the basics of each card first. That'll run for 6 weeks. Then I'll do an advanced course, and it will be more like a community, following on from there. With weekly lessons, it's not going to be a huge amount of money. It'll just be like pay weekly. I've put the price at £6 a session for 2 hours. I'm going to run a daytime and an evening course. In the past, just running daytime didn't work because lots of people could not make it to the daytime. I'm going to buddy people up in the room if they want to be buddied up, to work in between practicing. I'm going to set up a Facebook page for everyone on the courses, all to be together as a community, so everyone can ask their questions, everyone can help each other. I'll be popping on and off all the time, dropping in videos, little bits of in-betweeny stuff that I think is useful. And that's going to be something I would like to grow. The Facebook page is something I haven't done before whilst teaching. I've just kept it to the individual groups. I think people need more of a community to help them learn and grow quicker.
100%.
So that's my next big project. I'm going to run the introduction course quite a few times over. And looking to start like the advanced, like it's going to be a deep dive into symbology, you know, the zodiac, everything else on top. That'll start probably just after Christmas, but I'm going to start to sort of build the community, just to start anyway, and just give pre-videos just to keep people going, keep people working on things until I start the actual deep course, which I spent a year writing that course. I showed you my folder, didn't I? It's about that thick, and it's handwritten page to page, back and front. I've got so much information to share, so I'm just hoping to get lots of people that want to learn, and like I say, the course won't stop when the course stops, you know, because it will carry on forever, because we'll all be in a community together. And as long as people want to be there, I'll carry on showing up each week for them.
Yeah, I think within my own experience with the people I've taught or am trying to teach, you have to take on the pastoral role and have the door open, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So if they come up with any problem on their spiritual path, you've got to be there prepared to guide them through it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Not just when you're in circle or whatever, or a tarot course or whatever. But anyway, once again, thank you very much. I hope you got from today what you needed to get from today. I will have you on again. All right. Would you mind if I put this out on YouTube?
That's fine by me.
And what I'll do is I'll send you the link to YouTube and you can watch yourself.
Great.
All right. Anyway,
Yeah.
thank you to all that joined us from Facebook Live. You know, it's been great, and thank you all on Facebook Live for your contributions. And we'll see you all next Saturday, hopefully. Anyway, take care, you lot. God bless.